Case file: LA Noire. In a city of dirty cops in the 40s, you're a shining beacon of hope, fighting the rising tide of crime and trying to stay clean, surrounded by corruption.
I'm going to start off by saying apologies. LA Noire on the Switch doesn't let you capture footage. So the backdrop to this review is just going to be a montage of stills, but I've tried to do it in a way that's still going to give you an idea of the gameplay. Let's start at the beginning. LA Noire is a Rockstar game. While a lot of the game mechanics will feel familiar to Grand Theft Auto players, the game is far more restrictive. And on the Switch version, there is no free play available. You're always on a case, and as a cop, you can't even harass random passers-by. So it's obviously not the London police. In fact, you can't interact with them at all. The closest you get is during a mission, you can respond to an emergency call. They're mostly just shootouts or chases. But the game chooses when you're offered one, and it usually means driving away from the case clue you're working on and coming back to it after. And it can be about 5 to 10 minutes of just solid driving between the two destinations. The game does auto-save at checkpoints. Usually it's after you complete an interview with a suspect or you leave an area you've been investigating. So at least you don't have to complete missions before your commute ends, or your spouse bugs you, your kids need you, or your lunch break ends, whatever you're doing. Which takes me nicely into the driving. It's pretty much like Grand Theft Auto driving, mechanics-wise. You can go forwards, you can go backwards, and you can steer. You can see civilian cars. Sorry, there's no motorbikes. There is a wide range of vehicles to choose from, though, but they're all period cars from like 40s and 50s, so don't go looking for anything too flash. You can't run people over. You can run into them, but they kind of just bounce away and then walk off, and you get a little reminder up telling you that you're a cop, trying not to kill people. And then there's the crashes. And crashes. And more crashes. I crashed a lot. At the end of the case, you get a case rating based on how well you investigated and how much the car repairs and the city damages cost. Safe to say I never got a 0 on those two measures. The driving's pretty central to some of the missions, tailing suspects and high-speed pursuits and the like. And all of this isn't to say the game's no fun. I mean, it takes a good stab at being a cop, and it gives you a range of cases during your career. And they're all strung together with a classic 40s LA cop film plot, which I'm going to come back to in a bit. The cases are complex. You get through them by investigating the elements in the order that you choose. Typically, you'll start for looking for clues at the crime scene and then progress to interviewing suspects you've identified, looking for more clues at their homes and places of work, that sort of thing. It's got varied gameplay. It's got a mix of interviews with suspects and witnesses, searching for clues, driving around, high-speed pursuits, tailing, fighting, shootouts. There's a good mix in there. For those not interested in those features, after you fail each one a few times, you get the option to skip the action sequence. So it kind of highlights the game's focus on progressing the plot over insisting you learn how to drive better. The game's pretty proud of its interview gameplay. I mean, each question that you ask, you get the option to be hard or gentle or accuse people of using the evidence that you collected. But there is a right way to ask each question, and you've got to get the approach right based on the suspect's body language and facial expressions, which isn't the easiest thing to do. But if you do get the question star right, your case progresses. Get it wrong, and you've got to find other ways to progress. The cases themselves are quite good, in the beginning at least. But as the plot starts to take over towards the end of the game, the investigations become less free play and more scripted. In the early cases, if you miss a clue, you can still complete the case, albeit with a lower rating. And you do need to apply some thought to who you suspect when you interview people. But in the later cases, you can't progress in some cases until you find all the crime scene clues, which can be an infuriating process of running around picking up everything you can find to look at. Solving cases, so that's done when the game dictates it. If you've got an early hunch, you can guide your investigation in that direction, but you can't act on it until the game wants you to. For example, the murder cases. I kind of sussed the overall killer about 3 cases in, but I wasn't allowed to prove it or question him or anything until my character stumbled across it much later on. And that being said, the plot is good. It's the classic, you're a clean-cut cop who falls from grace as he investigates a case of corruption. You fight, shoot, and interview your way through cases, but your actions make no difference to the plot. Towards the end, you get the exciting opportunity, calm yourselves here, to take control of an insurance investigator. Dream come true, am I right? The game itself is an interesting concept, but the cases aren't really free play enough to really challenge you mentally, and budding investigators won't really get what they're looking for here. I don't think there's really enough in the game outside of the missions to really keep you going or give you good replay value.
Okay, I realise I sound pretty down on this game, but I did actually enjoy it. It doesn't really have a replay value, but you can pick it up for like £15 at the moment. So at that price, you do get your money's worth. I didn't feel it was the kind of game that you could play all at once. You play a bit of it, then you go and do something else, and you come back to it a couple of weeks later. But it does fill your gaming time quite nicely while you're playing it. Now, if you want Grand Theft Auto for the Switch, this is not it. If you want a game to hone your investigation skills, this is probably the best you're going to get for now, but it's not it. If you want something with a good plot to just sort of tax you a bit more than your kind of random mindless shooter up sort of game, then this game will fill a gap for you.